The date is October 25th in the year 2023. My name is Anita Hecht, and I have the great pleasure and honor of interviewing Caverly Hart in Garden City, Kansas, on behalf of the FinUp Foundation to record the stories of Garden City history and your personal memories. So thank you so much for agreeing to this interview.
You're more than welcome.
We are conducting this interview in the Community Congregational Church, and in my understanding, it's one of the beneficiaries of the FinUp Foundation Trust.
That's correct.
And it is also your home, so we'll dig into that a little deeper soon. Just to begin, Caverly, tell me when and where you were born.
I was born March 21st, 1948, in St. Catherine Hospital here in Garden City.
And St. Catherine's Hospital has a particular connection to your family.
It does.
Tell me about that.
My grandfather was Dr. O.W. Miner. He and another doctor had started a clinic where the hospital is now. And when the other doctor passed away, my grandfather donated, per se, his structure to the Dominican Sisters, and it became St. Catherine Hospital.
Oh. In fact, I think you also told me that his father was a doctor.
His father was a doctor.
Who also had an interesting role in
the 1918 flu. He was a doctor. They lived down in Haskell County, which is one county south. And he became part of the history of a book that John Barry wrote called The Great Influenza, because John Barry found information that my grandfather had written what would now be the CDC, but the Public Health Office, that it was his thought that the flu was a pandemic.
So he identified this pandemic when it began.
Yes.
Wow. And here we are, having just lived through another
pandemic.
100 years later. So do you know anything about how your ancestors arrived in Garden City or what brought them here?
Well, I know that my grandfather's mother came to Finney County with her parents and brothers and sisters. And I know that his father came from back east. I'd have to think about that. Mm-hmm. I can't remember right now exactly how he came to be here.
And they were real pioneers, though. I mean, this was when there was almost nothing here, right?
Yes.
And so were both of your parents born here as well?
My father was born in Maxville, Kansas, which is not far from here, and then he moved with his parents to Haskell County. Mm-hmm. And then they moved to Garden City.
And how did they survive here, your father and his family?
Well, they had a hard time. My grandfather had been a farmer in Haskell County, but the farm, it got to be too, it was not good. Mm-hmm. And so they moved here, and he worked for the county road department.
And so your father grew up here relatively poor, would you say?
Yes, my father did. He in fact, he quit school when he was in the 8th grade to work.
To go to work. He fought in World War II?
He did. Mm-hmm. He was a part of the American, I don't know. Anyway, he was...
Was he in the Air Force? Or
Well, yes, but they didn't call it the Air Force then.
okay.
But he went into the service,
Mm-hmm.
and he had a great love of flying.
Mm-hmm.
When he was young, he would walk out to the airport and hang around with the pilots and the man that ran the airport out there. So he became a pilot in the war and was sent to Germany. He was a B-24 pilot. And did you want me to go on
No,
about
I was.
that?
Wait, that's a whole nother
Yeah.
oral history, I know.
Yeah.
But when he came back, how did he make a living here in Garden City?
Well, in the beginning, he was a pilot for a man, a personal pilot for a man that had an oil company, I believe. But then that was just for a couple of years. But after that, he went to work for Century Refinery, which was north of Garden City.
Okay. And tell me a little bit about your mother's side.
My mother's mother was from Vermont. She and my grandfather met when he was on the East Coast during the war. He was in the Navy. He was a Navy doctor, and she was a Navy nurse. And so after that, they moved out here to Garden City. And my mother was the youngest of 3 girls.
Lots of girls in your family.
Lots of girls.
Uh-huh. And so she and your dad married, and then
My mother, yes. My mom actually went to college at the University of Colorado at Boulder.
Oh.
And when she came home, she was actually going to go to New York to get a graduate degree. She'd been offered a scholarship, but she met my dad, and so they fell in love and got married.
And had 4 girls.
And had 4 girls.
Wow. So we'll talk more about your life soon, but part of what this particular interview I know you'd like to share is about the Finnop family.
Right.
And about the Finnop Foundation, which is sponsoring this project. So before we get to your life, tell me first what the motivation for this particular oral history project is.
The motivation is to have some history of some people from Garden City whose stories could be lost in the future.
Mm-hmm.
And it just came about at one of our trustees' meetings talking about this, and here we are.
Here we are. And in fact, I think in my reading that the Finnops themselves were interested in history.
Yes, they were.
Yeah.
Especially the first Frederick Finnop, the grandfather. He was interested in the fact that he wrote a journal about his life up to the age of 48.
Okay. And that'll be available soon,
Yes.
right? He's the first Finnop to come here, so let's begin the story with him. What do you know about Frederick Finnop?
Well, I know quite a bit from having read his journal.
Uh-huh.
But he came to the United States from Germany when he was 4 years old with his mother and his sister because his father was already here in Ohio.
Okay.
And they had quite an adventure coming by ship. The ship ported in New Orleans, in that area, and his father met them there, and they went to Ohio. And he went to school till the 5th grade. He had to work. They were very poor also, and then when the Civil War came about, he joined the Union Army, the 9th Cavalry, and it was a unit of German soldiers, and none of them were citizens.
Interesting. Mm-hmm.
And he fought in that war for 3 years. He writes about that in his journal. In fact, most of the journal is about the Civil War, his participation, because it was hard. It was very hard. And he even fought in the Battle of Chickamauga, and that was a battle where so many soldiers were lost.
Mm-hmm.
And after that, he went back to Cincinnati. Then he moved to Vevey, Indiana to start a furniture factory with some other men. He met his wife. I'm not sure how long they stayed there, but then he had been out west one other time and decided that he wanted to move to the west. Mm-hmm. So they went by boat, took everything they had on a boat, and went to, his wife had a brother that lived in Leavenworth, Kansas.
Okay.
So he left his wife and his 3 children with her brother and his wife in Leavenworth. And he got on the train and started coming out across Kansas to find a place to live.
And why did he choose here?
He loved it. He describes it. He said the prairie, just beautiful, standing there in front of me. And he had been out here one other time, and I think that's why he wanted to come back.
Is there a story about him meeting Buffalo Jones?
Yes, he met Buffalo Jones at one of the, in Sterling, Kansas. And Buffalo Jones, as Frederick said, painted such a great picture of Garden City, Kansas, that he just had to see it. And so Buffalo Jones was a promoter, and he had lived here for a few years, lived in Garden City for a few years. So Frederick took the train, got off the train in Garden City, and as the story states, all the men were out fighting a prairie fire, so he joined them fighting the fire, and stayed, and then had his family come. He was able to buy a couple of lots on Main Street.
Deeds 1 and 2?
Deeds 1 and 2.
Mm-hmm.
And that family was...
What did his wife think when she got here?
She said, "Oh, Frederick, how could you bring me to such a place?"
So she wasn't quite as enthusiastic.
No. Oh, I know one other thing. Buffalo Jones... Frederick told Buffalo Jones his wife had allergies or asthma. Uh-huh. And he said, "Oh, we have mountain showers in Garden City."
Well, she adjusted, apparently.
She did.
Wilhelmina, also from Germany, it sounds.
Yes.
Like. Okay. How did they survive here?
Well, Frederick had brought merchandise with him. Lumber and clothing and items, I think, that he had in his business in Vevey, Indiana. So he built a building on Main Street, and he built a building next to that. And he eventually had a lumber yard, and he he built a business.
So was he fairly successful with
He was successful. Then they had a grocery store, which is where our office is now. And
those other buildings are still there too, right?
They are.
As well as the homes that they lived in?
Right. Yes, his first house. I mean, actually, what he did in the beginning was the family lived above the stores.
Mm-hmm.
And they lived there for most of the time until he retired, and then they moved to a house on 9th Street down the block from his son George's house. And George's family lived in a smaller house on 9th Street, and then they moved next door to a larger house.
So there were 3 children
Yes.
that Wilhelmina and Frederick had. George and Ed and Sally.
Right.
Okay. One question I also had is his generosity begins early, it sounds like. Frederick already, I have something saying when customers couldn't pay.
Oh, yes. When customers couldn't pay, he carried them on the books until they could pay.
And there was another thing that you wrote about him being, or someone writing about him being the largest taxpayer?
In Finney County.
Uh-huh.
From when he got here until he passed away.
Well, so this sort of generosity, this spirit of generosity, seems to have existed in his generation already.
Yes, it did. I think the next generation learned a lot from their grandfather.
Well, let's talk about the next generation, because his son George became quite successful.
He did. He bought and sold land.
Followed in his father's
father's footsteps, and worked in the business with him.
Okay. Did the businesses expand in some way?
Well, they expanded to the point where they did have a grocery store. There was a feed store. I'm not real clear on that, but I know that George's brother Ed was successful in that and the kind of crops he grew.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Tell me what you do know about George.
George was had great respect for his father. I know that. And his mother. And I know that he had a very giving personality. Mm-hmm. He donated books to all the school libraries. And on Thanksgiving, he would have a Thanksgiving dinner for all the children in town, and he would sometimes have an orchestra play for them. One time, the city was on the verge of bankruptcy, and he was searching for someone that could help them out, and he found someone in Kansas City that was able to help him. And that man said there would be nobody else that would have been able to help the Garden City out of bankruptcy except him.
Interesting.
Is according to George. That's what he said.
Tell me about George's wife.
Alta? I liked her a lot. We called her Aunt Alta. Well, she was
a relative
my mother's
of
great
yours.
aunt, yes. And she was just very kind. I'm glad that I got to know her because George died in 1938, and Alta didn't die until 1963. So she and Frederick and his sister Isabel lived together in the house.
So Frederick and Isabel were George and Alta's children.
Right.
Okay. So before we get to them, Alta was your mother's great aunt.
Right. My mother's father's aunt. Their mothers were sisters.
Got it.
His mother was part of the pioneering family that Alta was, a Smith.
Alta Smith. Okay. And do you know if how she and George met?
Yes, I do. They met at the grocery store. at
at
the
the
Finnip
Finnip?
grocery
Oh,
store.
cool. Okay.
Yeah.
And she had grown up here as well?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm not sure how old she was when they came, but she taught school in a country school out in the area where they lived.
Okay. Was he already successful in business when they met?
Yes, he was 10 or 12 years older than she was.
Okay. Tell me a little bit more about how he made his fortune.
Well, he bought and sold land.
The Finnip Land Company.
Right. But then when the Depression came about, it was hard. And a lot of people just sold their land. But he mortgaged his land. So really that was a hard time. And then he died in 1938. But Frederick and Isabel were working with him at the land company. And so they concentrated after his death on paying off all the mortgages, and which they did. In fact, we still have the list that Frederick wrote.
Wow.
Yeah.
So they really saved the day. Right?
They did.
The land
and then
the
they
business.
started times got better, and so they started investing in more land, and then oil and gas came on the scene, and they invested in oil and gas wells, and
so it grew.
and so, yes, it did. The Finnip Land Company grew.
So just before we get to Frederick and Isabel's generation, there were a couple more things about George's and Alta's, I assume, generosity. There were a couple of things you said. He offered bonds to all the churches in town?
Yes, $1,000 bond to all the churches in town so they could beautify their grounds. He donated the lot where a lot where a library was placed, the Carnegie Library, and he really believed in Garden City and wanted to help in any way he could.
Tell me about the park.
Oh yes, that was a very special gift. He donated 111 acres of land to the city for Finnip Park in honor of his father. And of course the park still exists today, and that's where a zoo was placed, and it's a real benefit to Garden City.
Was that also where the municipal swimming pool was?
And it's where the pool is.
Or is? Mm-hmm.
Which used to be the world's largest free municipal swimming pool until recently when it was updated to be a water park.
And no longer
which
free.
Is great. And it's no longer free, but it's a great place.
And then the city honored him back, if I'm not mistaken, by creating a day.
Yes, they did. The city decided they would honor the Finnips by creating Finnip Day, which was May 8th. And they would, the kids didn't have to go to school. They would have a big parade and just a big celebration. And that went on for several years, and then it continued to go on under the name Pioneer Day.
Is it still going on?
No.
No.
But we have others. We have Beef Empire Days now.
Oh,
which I
okay.
could, I think that could be.
It's kind of a continuation. But not the same date.
But it's no, it's not the same date.
Well, it's sort of sad that he died without being able to see the turnaround.
It is. It was unfortunate.
Yeah.
He just was. I think he was so concerned I don't know. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Do you know what he died of?
If I recollect this correctly, he had heart problems.
Okay. Well, shall we move to the next generation of Frederick and Isabel? Frederick,
Sure.
I have as born in 1903 and Isabel in 1907. Do you know anything about their youths? Or
Well, I know that Isabel was the more outgoing of the two, and I know that she and her dad had a good relationship, and I don't know really what their early youth was like. I know that she after high school she attended Ward Belmont College in Tennessee. It was a girls' college, but then when her dad, I think she was there for a year, and Frederick went to the community college, as Isabel probably did too. It was Garden City Junior College at that time. And after that, Frederick went to Washburn University to finish his degree.
and what was his degree in?
I'm not sure.
Okay. They grew up fairly affluent after they saved the businesses, I imagine, or as
I
adults.
think so.
But
Yes.
you had said that Frederick was a pretty frugal guy.
He was very frugal, very, very frugal for his whole life.
Any stories about that?
Oh, I don't know. He did not like to spend money, but I was glad that he did take some trips.
Uh-huh. I think you said your mom made him buy new
Oh, yeah.
undershirts.
Yes. After my mom went to work there, she could tell that Frederick was wearing undershirts that had holes in him, and she did give him the message that he needed to buy some new undershirts.
Well, this was after the foundation had started.
Was just starting.
But that wasn't until... What year did the foundation...
1978 is
Right.
when my mom went to work there.
So
Or 77, I can't remember.
So there's a bunch of intervening decades
Right.
Where Isabel and Frederick were running the businesses.
Yeah, they worked together and ran the business. And yeah, they did. They worked together in the office.
Anything you know about kind of how the businesses evolved and alongside Garden City? What do you remember hearing about the expansion of...
I just knew that they had land and that it bought and sold land. They had farmers that farmed for them, and they just continued to buy land as they could.
Okay. Well, let's move a little bit before we get to the foundation and its work to you and your childhood, because you come on the scene and grow up here. Tell me a little bit about your childhood and what your memories of Garden City in the 50s are.
Well, I have good memories. I liked the neighborhood we lived in. I had friends. We all went to the same grade school, which was across the street from this church and where the library is now. So we could walk to school. I have really good memories of growing up, having friends.
Small town,
Small
safe
town.
life. Riding your bikes, did you?
Oh yeah,
what'd
we
you do
rode our
for
bikes
fun?
all over. We rode when we were old enough, we'd ride to the pool, and it was just.
Uh-huh. Do you remember any of the festivals? I know that
Oh, let's see.
You all
Do I
have one of
remember? We have the Mexican Fiesta every year, which is still ongoing. It's been going on since I hesitate to say the year, but it's been going
Long
on for
time.
many, many years.
almost 100 or over
Yeah.
100, right? Okay.
And I know we used to celebrate May Day. I know we would have a fair. The fairs were always fun, and the rodeos. And my dad was involved. We had horses, and so that was a great part of life.
Well, one more question about the Mexican Fiesta. There was already a Mexican or Hispanic population
There
here.
was, because the Garden City Company grew sugar beets west of town, and so it attracted people to work there, and there were a lot of Hispanic families that moved to Garden City to
Permanently?
work. Yes, and a lot of them are still are still here.
Right.
A lot of the families are still here.
Did you have Hispanic classmates in school or
Yes.
friends that you played with? Or
Classmates. Yes.
and otherwise, was there separate neighborhoods, or was it pretty integrated?
There was pretty much separate neighborhoods at that time. There was not a huge population of Hispanics. It has grown over the years with the onset of the beef packing plants and large beef packing plants, which people
Brought in a
have
lot
come.
of immigration.
Yeah.
Do you remember the 50s as being segregated in any way
No.
at the pool, or any kind of discrimination that you experienced?
What I remember about that is I don't really remember it about the pool, although I do believe that the Hispanics did not swim or could not swim in the pool. Now, I've been told that. I don't know that for a fact. But I do know that we had a Hispanic girl that helped out my mom and my grandma, and she babysat. And when she would take us to the movie, we sat in the balcony, and I thought that was the greatest thing ever, But I never realized it was because we had to sit in the balcony. I didn't even realize that till years later.
Wow, it's interesting. Yeah. Well, it was just the water you swam in, so to speak. It wasn't. Yeah. When did you first start noticing big changes happening here?
Well, I moved away for 10 years, and I moved back here in 1982, and that's when I really noticed. That's when the beef packing plant had first been built.
That's IBP?
It was IBP, now it's Tyson.
Okay.
And there were more Hispanic people, and we had Vietnamese people.
How did that change the city? Housing, schooling.
I don't know the inner workings of that, but I do know that Garden City has been very accommodating in that area.
So integrating people into the school system, or building new housing, or
Right.
things like that. Healthcare, were there any hiccups or challenges in city government that you were aware of, or?
Not to my knowledge.
Okay. So you were gone for 10 years. Let's see, you graduated from high school in 66, left
Right.
in 72? Is that right?
Yes, I moved to Little Rock, Arkansas, where my aunt and uncle lived in
Okay.
1971.
And went to school or went to work?
No, I went to work.
Okay. What was your work?
I was a legal secretary
Okay.
at a law firm. Yeah.
And what brought you back here?
By then, I had a son who was 10, and I had friends here. I liked Little Rock, but I just had a desire to move home so that he could get to know my family.
Mm-hmm.
I liked Little Rock a lot, and my aunt and uncle were great people, but I just felt a need.
You wanted to come home.
Yeah, so
you came back in 82, you said?
yes.
Okay. By that time, your mother had already gone to work for the FinUp Foundation. Bring in that story. How did that come about? How did the FinUp Foundation come about?
Right. Well, Frederick and Isabel had a visit in the office one day from Merle Eyestone, who was president of the Kansas 4-H Foundation. And Frederick was talking with him and said, he didn't really know what would happen in the future with the business, and Merle suggested that they develop a charitable trust. So that put some ideas in their heads, and at that time they had a CPA who lived in Wichita, and they talked with him about it, and that's how that was the beginning of creating the FinUp Foundation Trust.
Do you remember how much money the original trust had?
I wish I would have looked that up before we started this, but
Was it in the millions, you think, or
no.
not quite? Okay.
Um,
And if I'm correct, neither Isabel nor Frederick had children?
they neither ever married.
Interesting.
I know. It was.
Any idea why or what?
I'm not really sure.
Okay.
I'm not really sure. They just didn't.
So they had all these assets and they needed to do something with them,
Yeah.
and so they became benefactors of the city.
Right. They created, like I said, the FinUp Foundation Trust. They had 3 trustees, and my mom was made one of the trustees to represent the church.
Okay, so tell me about all right. Go
There's
ahead.
3 trustees of the foundation, and each one represents the entity.
Okay.
So the City of Garden City for the park department, and Washburn University for scholarships for students from Finney County in southwest Kansas, and this church for building and scholarships. So my mother was asked to be the trustee to represent the church.
And this church that we're sitting in, do you remember the year it was founded?
Well, the church was the first church in Garden City,
Okay.
but this building was built in 1951.
And so these 3 trustees sat on the board and made decisions about how to distribute
Right.
the funds. And your mother was one of the trustees, but then came to work at the foundation office?
And then Isabel passed away in 1978, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
And Frederick asked my mother if she would want to come to work.
Had she
at
been
the
working
foundation.
before?
Yes.
Where?
Hinkle Drilling.
Oh, okay.
And she really liked her job, and it was really hard. I think it was kind of hard for her to make a decision, but Frederick said, "Oh, Catherine, you will love it. It's so diversified." And she already had a degree in business and accounting. So, yeah.
So what had she been, so Henkel Drilling, tell me a little bit because I know I'll be interviewing.
Dick Hinkle.
Yeah, what was she doing there?
She worked in the office. They drilled water wells and worked in irrigation and
Okay.
I'm not sure what all.
And she liked it. So.
She liked it, but so she made the decision to go to work at the foundation.
And when he said it's so diversified, was he referring to?
Well, the oil and gas, farms, and investments.
Investments meaning
In
the stock market?
Stock market.
Okay. I think you also said his frugalness was evident in that something about buying her a used typewriter.
Oh, yes. They needed to get her a typewriter, and he was calling around seeing if any of the offices had a used typewriter. And somebody came in and found that out, and they said, "Oh, Frederick, buy Catherine a new typewriter."
Good.
I'm not really making fun of him.
Oh, but it's interesting.
But he was just very frugal, and
yeah.
look what we're doing now. Benefiting the community, sending kids to college.
Right, he wanted to use the money for things that were substantive, it sounds like. So what were her main tasks when she came to work for the foundation?
Oh, I'm not really, she did the accounting, kept the books, worked with the farmers.
Oh, she worked with farmers? In what way?
Well, the farmers that farmed for the foundation, there's all kinds of things that go on with that, especially with all of the farm programs and reporting and they had 12,000 acres of land.
Wow. So the income stream was in part by renting land to farmers or producing crops that were then
producing
sold?
Crops. Mm-hmm. And so, the money from that was invested in.
And tell me a little about the oil and gas. Was it discovered on land they owned?
There are some on land they owned, some not. Some they went in with other people to.
So the foundation continued to have quite an income stream.
Right.
Okay.
We do.
You do. And Garden City, I imagine, was changing. How did that impact the foundation?
There was, there were becoming more and more nonprofit organizations.
Okay.
Like the Red Cross came in, well, they already had representatives there, but they didn't have a location per se. So the foundation was instrumental in helping them with that. And there was a need for the Red Cross to be a larger organization. So
the Red Cross was one of the service organizations.
Right.
Tell me about a few others, do you?
Right. And I don't know if this was all around the same thing, but I know these were some of the earlier ones. They gave some land out east of town for a camp for the YMCA.
And I have something about a 4-H ranch, too.
Oh, the Kansas 4-H Foundation has a ranch called the Rock Springs Ranch.
Okay.
And they help donate to that. And
Salvation Army?
Yeah. the Salvation Army was a big part of their giving, and then they set up a scholarship at the Garden City Community College scholarship program, and of course the Community Congregational Church was for building and for scholarships, and there have been many students that have received that scholarship, as well as the college. And then Washburn University was for students from Finney County and Southwest Kansas, and so there's been many scholarships for students.
And the scholarships, for example, from the church, are they for college or for the community college, or what is
They're
their
for
fund?
it started out to be more limited in colleges in Kansas, but as the money grew, and then of course over the last 10 years we haven't had as many students, but it's available for college, for books and for books and tuition. We've made it available to attend continuing education, for graduate school. It's just grown to where we have been able to include more besides just regular 4 years of college. And it's for every year, as what the scholarship at Washburn is too.
Wow.
It's been a very wonderful thing.
Wow. It sounds like it. I think you had said, your mom said something about people had no idea or have no idea
how
much the...
Frederick and Isabel would just be amazed. I don't think they had any idea of what this would become. And it's just, my job is awesome. I love my job.
Well, tell me, how do you think your mom shaped the foundation?
My mom, yes, she was very smart. My mom was very smart. And she had a way of talking with people and developing new ideas and developing relationships, and she was just a real asset for the
So
foundation.
were some of the ideas hers about what the foundation would support, or was she involved with choosing recipients?
I'm sure yes, they were. We had many people come. She talked with many people. And over the years, we've talked with many people that are interested in applying for a grant.
Right. She talked you into coming to work for the foundation.
She did in
Tell me that story.
1987. It had gotten to the point where they needed another person. And so she asked me if I would want to. And I was very surprised, but yes, I was very honored, and it's been a wonderful job.
So you started in 1987,
Yeah.
and Frederick passed in 88,
And
right?
Frederick passed away in 88, and he wasn't coming to the office. We did some remodeling. I mean, the back part of the building was just a falling down, old building, and so we remodeled it.
Okay.
And we brought him down to look at it, and I mean, he didn't say a word. I really don't know what he thought. I hope he thought it was great, But we were spending money,
Right. Well, and did you work there with your mother then for a while?
Oh, yeah, till she didn't retire until she was 87. Let's see. I can't remember what year that was, but she was 87 when she retired, so
So she gave a lot of her life to that
it was her life.
effort. Was it? And was it okay for you two to work together?
Oh, yeah, well, you know, we had our ups and downs.
Any particular stories that you're proud of in terms of your involvement after you came to work there, or it's just projects that meant a lot to you personally?
Well, let's see. I like the projects that help children, because of the type of the work that their parents, some of the immigrants that come in to do the work, it's the type of work, it's hard work, it's long hours.
Are you talking about the packing plants?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so there are kids that need support. There's been a new program called Real Men, Real Leaders, where a group of Hispanic men started an organization for 5th and 6th grade boys to help them with the ins and outs of life, and it's been very successful. And I'm proud to be able to help with that.
Yeah.
But, you know, really, I'm proud to be able to help with a lot of these organizations. There's the Emmaus House that feeds people. You know, the Salvation Army provides so many things. The Red Cross. There's a lot of organizations we give to, and they're all important.
It sounds wonderful. It makes me wonder, too, about these big agribusinesses that have moved in, you know, at Tyson and some of the larger companies. Do you think they give back in the same way to the community?
It's my understanding that they do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because the Finnips really set quite a tone for...
Right, and we have a community foundation also, the Western Kansas Community Foundation. And I'm not saying that the Finnip Foundation does this all by themselves, because they don't. I'm sure that Tyson has a program. In fact, I know they give scholarships. There's a new plant that's not open quite yet, but there's another plant that was built to make powdered milk, and I'm sure that, I don't know the inner workings of them, but I'm sure that each one of them has a way of giving back too.
So, sort of in wrapping up a little bit, what do you think are the biggest changes you've seen here, and what are also your hopes and fears about?
Well, the biggest changes have been, and I think that it's good, Garden City has become the hub of southwest Kansas, eastern Colorado, northern Oklahoma, and Texas. And we have progressed and grown, and I think it's wonderful. Because it was a small town when I was growing up, you know.
So you've seen it grow in housing and in business.
Oh, the housing. There are places I haven't even gone to see where they're building houses.
What are your hopes for its future?
Well, you know, there's the issues of water.
Not enough.
Not enough. And That's the biggest issue I can think of right now. And I'm not going to say it's going to be that everything has been all roses and it's going to continue to be. There's challenges, but I think we're fortunate enough in Garden City that we have the county and city government that works well together. Our nonprofit organizations we all work really well together, and so I think that will help lead Garden City in the future.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think you said that there's something quite unique that you feel exists here.
Yeah.
That has to do with collaboration.
Collaboration. We have wonderful collaboration. Our nonprofit groups collaborate.
And I think Amy, who you work with, had
Yeah.
also mentioned sort of this idea of the pioneer spirit.
Yeah.
Tell me what that means to you.
That means that you just find a way to do it.
You just get things done
Yeah.
however you can do it. Through invention and hard work.
Yeah.
Do you think it's easy for immigrants to come here?
I think it would be hard.
Do you?
But I think that there's a lot of organizations that work with them. The schools work with them. They work hard to make it possible for them to fit in.
Have you witnessed any discrimination or any kind
Myself?
of tensions or?
I can't think of any right now. I probably have, but just nothing comes to mind right now.
And how do you feel about sort of crime and poverty and some of those social issues? Have they gotten worse?
Yeah, they have. They have.
Any ideas about how to resolve them, or? Sounds like the foundation has done or is doing.
You know, I don't know how you resolve that, but I know it has increased. You know, and it's not just the big plants that people come to find work. It's also, you know, we're an agriculture area, so there's the feed yards, there's ranches, those types of things, farms, you know.
Well, you came back here in '82, and you've stayed here ever since.
I love Garden City.
Yeah. What do you think you love most about it?
Well, it's home.
It's home.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for.
And I love being close to my sisters, and I love being close to my mom.
So, what are your plans for the Finnip Foundation? And
Well, my plan is to retire.
really,
Yes.
when will that happen?
Well, probably within the next couple of years.
Okay. Well, so this is a great thing that you just shared your stories. It's kind of a capstone of all the work you've done. Thank you for letting me interview you.
You're
Is there
welcome.
anything I haven't asked you that you want to include?
No.
Anything about your mom?
I'm just
or-
glad that we did this project.
It's a great way to honor a lot of the people who've come before and some of their contributions. And
Yes. And I wish we would have done it sooner. But, you know, hindsight's 20/20,
That's
right?
right. Thank you for letting me interview
And it's been a
you.
pleasure getting to know you.
Oh, likewise. It's a great honor, so thank you for trusting me to this project.
Sure.